out of Madison Square Garden last night out there on 7th Avenue. It's a garden party. You cannot get in, or whatever boss man D-Lo said, because in my mind it's the same thing. A comeback, OT, and a raucous crowd inside of the Garden. Under 9 minutes to go in the third, Donovan Mitchell on the wing hits the three. Cavs go up by 21, and they would get the lead as high as 22. Entering last night, teams up by 22 in the fourth quarter were 594-1 over the last 30 postseasons. There's a reason why I'm telling you this, guys. Jalen Brunson gets in the lane. It's the floater right there. Knicks now down by 20. Brunson feeds Cat, who finishes with the layup right there. Lead now cut to 15. Just over 5 minutes to play. JB putting the moves on James Harden, was doing it all night long. Could not do anything with Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter. Just over 4 minutes to play. Jalen Brunson again with a shot over the beard. Knicks now down by 8. Next possession for New York. Brunson says, give me some more barbecue chicken, okay? Brunson and fans fired up.
Finger looking good.
Finger looking good. Look, Timothy Chalamet had to go give Tracy Morgan a hug. He was like, this is the best game ever. Mikal Bridges in the corner hits the three right there. Patrick Ewing loving it on the sideline. 50 seconds left in the fourth. Knicks swing it to Landry Shamet for the three. Gets a favorable bounce, and it's a bucket. We're all tied up at 99 apiece. Look, I mentioned, guys, that the Cavs, they had a lead as large as 22 points in the fourth quarter. That just faded away. MSG going absolutely nuts. Harden with the fake right here on JB, but gets a fadeaway jumper to go. Cavs up 101-99. Jalen Brunson says, look, come on, I've been cooking you all night. I'm going to do it again. Game now tied at 101 apiece. Final seconds of the fourth quarter. James Harden looking, searching, finds Sam Merrill for three. That one's no good. Knicks end regulation on a 30-8 run. Cavs blew their 22-point lead down the stretch of this game, and now we're heading in to overtime. 4 minutes to go. Jalen Brunson, the man of the night. Float game, strong. 38 points for Brunson in this one. OG Anunoby, he's back and better than ever. Gets to the basket, gets the bucket to go. Knicks now up by 6, under 2 to play in OT. Landry Shamet knocks down the three right there from the wing. MSG going absolutely crazy. Knicks with a 40-11 run to end the game. Knicks win game one, 115-104, and proving they got that dog in them.
Great win by our guys, and obviously we don't get it done if Jalen Brunson doesn't play like one of the MVP guys in the league. He was phenomenal. He did what he was supposed to do tonight, and it definitely helped us get the win.
Anyone watched us last year when we was in Boston, I feel everyone counted us out in those first two, and we did exactly like this. So shout out to our team, the grit we showed, the resilience that we showed, and of course Jalen Brunson was special. Our team showed up defensively in the fourth and overtime, and that's how we're going to leave MSG tonight with a win.
Senior NBA writer Brian Windhorst hopping on with us now this morning to discuss exactly how the Knicks orchestrated an improbable 22-point fourth-quarter comeback against the Cavs. So, Wendy, how did they do it?
Well, when you have a collapse or a comeback, whichever way you want to look at it, of this level, there is always multiple things happening. So you first off start Jalen Brunson, Captain Clutch, showing the reason why he has developed this reputation as a fourth-quarter killer. He had to make these shots, okay? All of them, some of them were okay, but some of them were very high difficulty, and he made them all. I believe he was 8 of 9 in isolation against James Harden in that fourth quarter. And look, Harden's wearing those neon shoes. It was like a target for every Knick out there, and Brunson ripped them. But also, the Cavs just totally didn't do anything at their side of the court. Their offense stopped maneuvering, and for reasons that really are unexplainable and unacceptable, they sat on 4 timeouts. 2 different times they had use it or lose it timeouts where if you don't use them, you get it taken away. They didn't call them. They didn't. They were sluggish on changing their defense. They were sluggish on changing their offense. The 2 of those things had to both occur to allow the 22-point comeback.
Yeah, and a note, in case you missed it earlier, when Amina mentioned teams trailing by 22 points at any point in the fourth quarter over the last 30 postseasons, 1 and 594 until last night. The Knicks made it 2 wins in that column. Wendy, stand by because we're coming back to you in just a second.
The Cavs' two biggest stars were nowhere to be found down the stretch during the Knicks' 44-11 run. To close the game, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden were 1 for 10 from the field, including 0 for 5 from three-point range with 2 turnovers and combined for just 3 points. James Harden on the missed opportunities in Game 1.
We really hadn't had time to, go over them. We literally, it's been, less than 48 hours, from the last series. But even with that being said, we had a more than great opportunity to win a game. So, figure it out, make some adjustments, and be better for Game 2.
It's one game. We could have lost by 40. Still would have been 1-0. So we just watched the film. We played, pretty solid for 3 quarters or so. We'll make adjustments and go from there. We lost. We blew it. All right, let's round for Game 2. Simple as that.
I like to hold my timeouts. I mean, I didn't want to have one timeout at the end of the game, 1 or 2 point game. I try to hold them,
And Wendy, you heard Atkinson right there talking about the timeouts. You just touched on it just about a couple of moments ago. What do you make of his comments there?
Well, it's unacceptable. It's an unacceptable answer. I could understand he's trying to protect his players and protect himself, but you can have 4 timeouts going into the fourth quarter. The Cavs did not use their 4th timeout. They did not use their 3rd timeout. When 3 minutes hits, your timeouts are reduced to 2. That's what he's talking about. He wants to have 2 timeouts in the last 3 minutes, if for nothing else, and to also challenge. That's an acceptable answer. It is not acceptable to explain why he had 2 other timeouts that he didn't use. And look, even if you don't want to use the timeout, you've got to make another adjustment. You cannot let Harden continue to fall into isolation. At some point, they did go to double teaming him, but by the time that happened, the Knicks were already on a run. And then the double team, he just passed out, and you gave up open 3-point shots. And then, even if it's not defense, even if you want to get away from the Harden matchup, offensively, they stopped running action. They had great actions early in this game. And frankly, we showed the Sam Merrill shot at the end of the game. Donovan Mitchell had the ball in his hands and gave it up to James Harden and let James Harden initiate. Harden was not getting it done last night. If you didn't want that as a coach, you're sitting there with timeouts. Call the timeout. You have the time to do a restructure. I know Merrill's shot almost went down, but I can't explain why Donovan just gave up the ball at the end of regulation there when it could have been, him to go to attack at it. Brunson had 5 fouls. The Cavs almost never attacked him. There's 10 different reasons why you call a timeout and draw something up there, and he left them sitting there not used.
Yeah, adjustments needed to be made by the Cavs, but maybe they do it for Game 2.
Because this game was just absolutely bananas, and no shock that MSG would give it to us, right? Over the final 12 minutes and 40 seconds, the Knicks outscored the Cavs by 33 to erase what was, again, a 22-point deficit. Jalen Brunson by himself, Briscoe, made twice as many field goals as the entire Cavs team during that span.
Hello, now to Stephen A. Smith. I would imagine he's feeling pretty
probably, right?
Yeah, right. Hi. How are you feeling after watching that Knicks team do what they did, particularly the final minutes of that game?
Relieved, Nicole. Absolutely relieved. I mean, they looked absolutely awful for more than 3 quarters of the game. And then after that, it was 7 minutes left. They were down 22. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Brunson goes ballistic and literally should be arrested for the assault that he put on James Harden. Just abused him at every single turn. Annihilated him, kept going by him, scored like 5 or 6 straight baskets. And then it got to a point where seemingly anybody, whether it was Mikal Bridges, whether it was Brunson, whether it was Landry Shamet, anybody who attempted a shot, it was James Harden in the vicinity. It ain't just Jalen Brunson that should be arrested for assault. It's the rest of the Knicks, because everybody at that point was targeting James Harden because he couldn't stop a cold. It was just that simple. But up before then, up before the 7-minute mark, when they were down by 22, they looked beyond rusty. They looked lethargic, like they had been chilling for the last 9 days, eating pizza and Lord knows what else. They did not look like the New York Knicks we had seen win 7 straight playoff games, but thank goodness it didn't last the entire game.
That was like 2 different teams.
Yeah, right. But look, once you get to the playoffs, we've seen crazy games before, and one loss is just one loss, whether it's by 1 or 30 or this dramatic comeback. But my thing is, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers fans right now, if your team could not respond in the moment to that run in the fourth quarter and then get blitzed in overtime, how can you respond in Game 2 at all?
Was a very legitimate question. We'll see if they have an answer. I don't think they will. Last year, when the New York Knicks blew their first game against the Indiana Pacers, we knew they were in a world of trouble because it was that devastating of a loss. I think this was even worse for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was unquestionably a choke job. Make no mistake about it. It was a choke job. You can't collapse like that. Where was Donovan Mitchell in the last 7 minutes to stop the bleeding? He was nowhere to be found. James Harden had tied it at 99, but that was the only thing he did right other than drawing an offensive foul from Brunson in the last 7 minutes. Aside from that, he was getting abused by every Knick in sight. So when you have that going on, you know it's a problem. And why did it end up that way, Nicole and Michael? It's very, very simple. Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit because what he did was he took Josh Hart out of the game. And as a result, by putting Sherman in there with Brunson, what happened is you couldn't hide Donovan Mitchell and James Harden defensively any longer. And that's what happened. You had two guys that looked to stroke it from deep and are fully capable of doing so. So it drew somebody like Harden and Mitchell out, more so Harden than anybody else, which is why he was targeted. So you end up losing a 22-point lead. You end up spending the last 7 minutes of regulation and overtime getting outscored 44-11. That is a demoralizing situation to be in, especially when you came to New York just to get one. And this is the one that you had. In all likelihood, I can't imagine them getting game two. They're going to be in an 0-2 hole, and it's going to be virtually impossible to imagine them doing what they did against Detroit, winning 4 of the last 5 games to win this series and get to the NBA Finals. I'd be shocked if a team this demoralized, clearly and visibly, is going to come back from a defeat of this nature. It's not just a loss. It's how you lose like that.
Yeah, they
it's
had
a devastating
it. They had it.
Yeah, and demoralizing may be an understatement in terms of how this thing played out by the time they got to the end of overtime. Stephen A., appreciate the time, man. I wonder what First Take is going to be like.
Oh, it's going to be nice. It's going to be orange and blue skies, baby. Orange and blue skies.
Kittens and rainbows.